With the size, length, athleticism profile that you guys have on this roster, are there some things defensively you guys are tailored to do maybe at a higher level than other teams might be?
I think utilizing our length's important. Playing with our length, just our presence, using our hands, our length with our arms, spreading out, deflections. Those kind of things, are important. And last year we obviously turned people over a lot, and a lot of it had to do with our length.
Billy, y'all are going to have a roster spot open going into the season. Can you foresee a situation where you would have a guy in camp be on the roster going into the season?
I mean, I don't know. That's something I'd probably talk to Sam about. Sam and I would talk about that. But, right now we're going with what we have. If something changes, and I've always said this with Sam and Troy, they're always looking to try to improve, make our team better all the time. But, that would be something that I think if Sam decided he wanted to do that, we would probably talk about that.
Really, last year you guys had major pieces who were new guys. Russell missed a bunch of camp. Patrick wasn't really ready. Alex. It's a little different this year. The pieces you've had are a little more complementary, but you still don't have Russell. Are there things you do now to kind of make sure you're not in a month saying, we didn't have everybody at camp, and that made things difficult? Are there things you can do?
I mean, Russell, trying to keep him engaged, trying to keep Andre engaged is important. There is things that are going to be new for them that they're able to watch and absorb. But I think like any time you have players that are integral part to your team, it's hard to integrate those guys in 5-on-5 playing when they're hurt. So like I'd love to have the opportunity to have Russell and Paul and Dennis out there together. I'd like to have Andre out there and just see how those guys but you can't. And that they'll have to work through that, once Russell gets healthy and gets back. So, what you try to look at is what you can control, and there's things that we have to do as a basketball team, whether Russell's on the court or not, whether Andre's on the court or not. There's just things we have to do, as in terms of an identity and how we want to play on both ends of the floor. So, the fact that those guys are there, they're engaged, they're involved as best they can be involved, is probably the best you can do at this point in time with them not being able to do any real physical contact.
Billy, when Andre got hurt last year, Alex stepped in, and it seemed like he made some defensive strides. Do you see that translating into
I think he did a really good job from his rookie year to last year, Alex. I thought he made some significant strides. He was better on the ball. I thought there was a more physical presence to him at the basket. And I think probably having a year under his belt, he probably learned the league a lot more. But I thought he was a drastically improved defender, and I thought Darko did a really good job working with him and trying to focus on a lot of the pre-practice skill development of working with him defensively. And then I think the other part, which was huge too, is I think the strength and conditioning staff did a great job of helping him physically get stronger. And I think those factors and him working hard probably contributed to him making those kind of improvements.
Does that set him up for now in this season and being able to play more and possibly even fill in that time where?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about Alex. I mean, it's his third year, and I feel good about the experiences he's had. Like anything else, you're trying to, condition your team, coming back and getting back in the flow, and those guys getting back together. But I mean, I feel like I have confidence in Alex based on what happened last year defensively, that he's more than capable of doing that. But I would say this is Alex put a lot of attention and a lot of focus on that, and he just needs to have that kind of attention and focus on it as well this year.
Just looking at him, just looking at Patrick, he looks. Sorry, just looking at Patrick, he looks very different. He said his weight. Looking at Patrick, he looks really different. He said his weight hasn't really changed. It's just the diet and some things like that. Right.
Yep.
But in terms of just the way he moves, how comfortable he is, how well he knows the offense, how different is this year to last?
Well, like I talked about beforehand, I think that we've got to play faster, and that doesn't mean when we're playing faster that we need to shoot faster, but we need to come across half court faster. We need to I think play with more pace and more tempo. We need to cut and move better, and some of that are similar things that we did last year that he's knows, and then there'll be some new things for him and for the guys that are returning from last year. So, I mean, Patrick has got a good feel of how to play. He's a smart player. What you're trying to do with him is take advantage of him from behind the line because he's such a good shooter. But he also is a really good mover, where you can kind of relocate him and move him to different spots on the floor. So some of it will be the same, some will be different.
Is Schroeder's speed with the ball, Billy, comparable to Russ, or is there an adjustment? Is he even faster with the ball for the guys to adapt to what he does?
Yeah, I mean, I said this to Brett yesterday. It's just different. It's different. They both have incredible speed and quickness, but it's just different. Russell is incredible of when he sees a crack or a breakdown or a foot position not where it's supposed to be defensively. He can just go from 0 to 60 in an incredible amount of speed. And he is unbelievable, and there's really nobody like him as it relates to that. I think with Dennis, he kind of gets by you too, but it's a little bit more of a slower, it's a herkier jerk, but he has the ability to kind of come down, and he plays with really, really good pace and tempo, and then he can kind of just, hit you and go by you. So they both kind of do the same thing as it relates to going by defenders, but they maybe do it a little bit differently.
Billy, yesterday you were talking about how, with all the new guys, that you were able to still coach at a normal pace and throwing out some terminology. As a coach, how much can you expect from improvement from day 1 to day 2, and specifically, were you able to coach at a quicker pace?
Yeah, but I think the challenge was today is like anything else. The first day is you're coming in and you're teaching and you're implementing and you're trying to create an identity on both sides of the ball. So when you're doing that, there's not like necessarily of a lot of 5-on-5 playing. There's some at the end where you try to do some of it. So it's like specific, like you're talking about, okay, pick and roll coverages. So you're working on that 2-on-2. You're talking about transition defense, running. So you create these isolated drills to work on specific parts. It's totally different when you throw 5-10 guys out there. Now you got to do those things on the fly, and they're all randomly happening. So today, that's what happened, is we did a lot more live play and live contact than yesterday, and that's where we've got to improve, is being able to translate those things like that are drills and being able to get them in 5-on-5 play. So that's what you're looking at going forward right now, is being able to play a little bit more so that there's things that are just trying to create more game-like situations for them.
Is one of those the shot clock reset rule? Are you guys emphasizing that at all?
Yeah, I think you have to make a mention of that. You got to, I don't know if it needs to be necessarily this point of focus, but we have to have an awareness of that, because I think the one thing probably is just my feeling and looking at it is when you do offensive rebounds, and we've been a good offensive rebounding team, is, if Steven or whoever it is doesn't score immediately on a putback and the ball comes back out, it's be very, very difficult to reset the offense. We've got to be able to continue attacking right away and randomly, probably. And I could see, his offensive rebound, a big kind of gets it, he dribbles it out, tries to throw it out to the guard. Next thing you know, you're down to 8 seconds and you're trying to get into offense, and now you're up against the clock. And, so you got to think you're going to have to be able to attack pretty quickly.
Along the same lines, did you kind of celebrate when you saw the clarification of the clear path? Because that's an easy way to stop you guys from getting out in transition.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think some of the stuff was that they talked about in some of the coaches' meetings. They're trying to think to clean some of that stuff up, and a lot of times they'll use the G League, to experiment with those rules and see, how they go through experimentation and then making decisions of whether or not they want to implement them, in the NBA. But I think the clarity on some of that stuff will be a little bit more, interesting. I mean, the same rule, obviously, if the guy's out, but also if players are out above and the ball gets thrown. So I think they're trying to do things to reward. The game is being played a lot faster. I think the next thing that they'll probably have to address and will address is the take fouls on transition, where it's not a clear path and guys just take a foul. And this really kind of, it's just to stop the break. I think they'll probably evaluate some of that, because I think the one thing about our game, which is great, is because of the speed and the pace at which it's being played and the players and the greatness of these guys at this level, the openness, I think they want to really make that and continue to make that part of the game with the way the game's evolving into that.
To piggyback on that, at the league meetings for broadcasters, they really emphasized holding now is going to be called.
Yes.
So is that something you've got to recoach and
Yes.
make the guys aware of?
Yeah, I think we have to make, that's got to be an awareness. I mean, we started right away today with officials. I mean, we brought officials in today because I think that some of the rules that they're doing that, like I was saying, the fast break, the freedom of movement, they want to be able to have that. And, you know, certainly the two-hand grabbing, the holding, you know, there's going to be an emphasis on, you know, allowing guys to move. And, I mean, they were pretty clear on that. So I think the shot clock going to 14 on an offensive rebound, some of the physicality. We've always been a physical team. We try to be a physical team inside the rules without fouling. But you're going to have an awareness of what you're doing with your hands.